Thank you everyone for attending. Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending on where in the world you are. My name is Vikram Kulkarni, and I work for GL Communications. I'm joined on this call by two of my colleagues, our senior engineers Prasad Maya and Swati Ural. And today we are going to talk about comprehensive Ethernet testing solutions. Before we talk about Ethernet testing, I first want to give an overview of our company. We are GL Communications. We are headquartered in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We were founded in 1986. We've been around for over 30 years. And we do a variety of different telecommunications consulting work. And we manufacture telecommunications test equipment. Both hardware and software. And when I say telecommunications, I mean all different types of telecommunications networks, whether it's wireless networks, Ethernet, SONET, T1, E1, analog, LAN mobile radio, basically any telecommunications network that you can think of, we have some sort of test and measurement solution to help diagnose these networks and the equipment that resides on these networks. We can capture data, we can analyze it, we can emulate various protocols, we can visualize the data, we can store the data. We have solutions that are portable, we have solutions that are rack mount. We have very cost-effective solutions as well. We also have a development office in Bangalore, India. That's actually where Prasad and Swati are located. And we have sales representative offices all around the world. So no matter where you are, please get in touch with us and we can help you address your testing requirements. Okay, so what we'll do in today's webinar, we'll first give a quick overview of Ethernet. We'll talk about, what can happen on Ethernet networks, why you should care about testing Ethernet networks, and then, how, what, when, where to test different methodologies. And then we'll talk about PacketExpert, which is one of our best-selling solutions and probably our most inquired about solution. And so we'll give a good overview of what PacketExpert can do for you. Okay, so I probably don't need to tell you this. Ethernet is basically everywhere these days. It's become the dominant technology on local area networks, metropolitan area networks, and even backbones are running Ethernet as well. So why is that? Well, Ethernet is very fast. These days we're talking about 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig, 100 gig Ethernet networks. It's very reliable. Small collision domains and collision detection algorithms and things like that. It's just a very reliable, it's very scalable technology, and so it has it's basically ubiquitous at this point. All right, well, on any telecommunications network, things can go wrong, right? So you can have faulty network equipment, you can have overloaded equipment, there can be interference with other sorts of wireless or wired signals that are in the vicinity. There's always unexpected events like power outages and things like that. There's always like network infrastructure that could be rerouting things and encryption, decryption, and proxies, VPNs, and things like that. And those could sometimes go wrong. There's always the threat of cyber attacks. So a lot of things can go wrong on a telecommunications network. And what does that mean in terms of performance of the network? Well, that could lead to all sorts of different things. It could lead to packet loss and bit errors. It could lead to out of order packets and duplicated packets, or increased latency, jitter, which is basically, the variable delay that you get when you receive packets, congestion, and so on and so forth. So that's how all these different things manifest themselves on these networks. But what does it mean to the end user? Well, depending on what type of business or what type of agency you come from, this basically results in a loss of mission critical capabilities. Whether you're trying to talk to troops on the ground or pilots in the sky, whether you're trying to talk to employees across the world, like you can experience a loss of your basic business functions. Customers are unable to contact you or send information to you, and so on and so forth. So a lot of different bad things can take place on these networks, which can directly affect your bottom line and what you're trying to do for your customers and for your users. Okay, so what type of applications go over Ethernet? Well, basically everything, right? If we're talking UDP, then we could be talking about voice over IP communications. For instance, right now, this is I'm talking, and this is all voice over IP. Everything is being converted to packets, and it's traversing UDP and going over the internet, and you're able to hear me. Video conferencing, same thing. It's over UDP. Video streams like closed circuit television and so forth. That's all going over UDP, layer 4 UDP. Now, TCP is also obviously residing over Ethernet and IP. TCP is for data. It's for reliable data exchange, file transfers, financial activity, customer payments, and so on and so forth. Video services like YouTube and so on also use TCP for reliable data transmission. So whether you're streaming things or whether you're doing data transmission, voice, video data, whatever it may be, it's all residing over Ethernet and IP. Okay, so how do you test all this stuff? Well, depending on who you are, you want to test different types of things. Some of you may only be interested in testing cables, or maybe you're deploying some sort of like fiber optic networks, and you're trying to maybe just test some sort of straight shot, maybe a couple kilometer mile or a couple mile run of fiber optic cables from point A to point B. Maybe you're testing switches like gigabit switches or 10 gig switches or 40 gig switches. You could be testing routers, gateways, VLANs, VPNs, and as we go, from individual devices, you could also be testing end-to-end networks. So you could be testing clients connecting to servers across the world. You could be talking about clients connecting to other clients, basically end-to-end networks. So isolated devices all the way up to end-to-end networks. There's a whole spectrum of different things that you could be interested in testing. And customers come to us for all of these different types of testing requirements. When to test, what frequency to test? Well, again, that depends on your specific requirement. Maybe you want to test at a certain time of the day. Maybe you want to test under certain conditions like high or low loads on the network. Maybe you want to test after there's been some sort of change in the network, some sort of circuit handover, or maybe like after acceptance of a network, or you want to maybe benchmark test some isolated device. Lots of different things that you want to test and when to test it. How to test? Well, what type of things are you interested in? If you're just testing a switch you probably want to make sure that switch is running flawlessly without bit errors continuously for 24 hours, 48 hours, indefinitely. If you're testing over a real network, maybe you're interested in characterizing the packet loss, the throughput, the round trip delay, the one-way delay, and so forth. You also want to test at different speeds, at different frame sizes, different types of packets to see how the network behaves under different types of conditions, or how your device behaves under different types of conditions. So customers always work with us and lay out exactly, you know, what they're interested in. And we have a testing product that can basically do it all, as you're going to see here momentarily. More examples, we can do service level agreement verification. So we can do things like committed information rate, guaranteed information rate if you're working with a service provider and they're deploying a wide area network for you, or some sort of dedicated links between data centers or something like that. A lot of customers want to do that service level agreement verification. Equipment manufacturers want to do testing of equipment. They want to troubleshoot equipment. They want to do regression testing, so periodic testing over time to make sure the equipment is functioning properly over the long term. Production testing and so forth. Maybe we have a lot of customers these days that are interested in precision delay measurements. They want to know precisely with millisecond accuracy or microsecond accuracy what's the delay through a device. You know, low latency applications are highly desired these days. So we have the ability to do that. And so on and so forth. The list goes on and on of real world examples that customers have come to us. Okay, so now that we've talked about, you know, Ethernet and why it's important and what to test, when to test, why to test, now let's talk about what type of test device you actually need. Well, you want something that's flexible. You want to be able to support different types of interfaces. Ethernet can be, you know, 10, 100, 1000 meg, you know, 2.5 gig, 10 gig and above. So you want something that can adjust to these different types of speeds. Depending on your requirement, you may want either a portable solution that you can take out to the field, or you may want a stationary solution that you can deploy in a server room or in a laboratory. You want something that can probably cover a lot of different types of testing scenarios. So maybe just bit error rate testing, but also RFCs like 2544, 6349, Y.1564, all sorts of different testing standards these days. You may want packet capture capability, playback, multi-stream generation. You may want to impair traffic intentionally to see how applications react under impaired conditions. This next feature, I do want to talk about this. One thing that really separates GL Communications from the rest of the field is our ability to automate tasks. We can supply APIs, and Swati will talk about that a little bit later, but basically you can run scripts to control our hardware, which makes it really convenient for doing automated testing. If you need to test, you know, if you need to do tens of thousands of tests over a period of time, you don't want to do that manually. You don't want to just click buttons tens of thousands of times. Instead, you want to write a script and just fire it off once and then get all the results. Whoops, sorry. And be able to get your test results with one click of a button, with one simple script. So we have that capability, and I really don't know of any other competitor that has this capability. So we'll talk about that more a little bit later. We also have a very comfortable graphical user interface. So a lot of customers just want something simple, a graphical user interface. We have a very easy to use GUI. And finally, of course, cost is always important. Our solutions are very cost effective. You can always inquire, and we can always send you quotes, and you'll see that our solutions are very cost effective. Okay, so hopefully I have laid the stage to talk about and promote our PacketExpert product. So now it's time to really dig into PacketExpert. This is what PacketExpert looks like, both the front view and the back view. This is our latest model of PacketExpert. We call it the PacketExpert 10GX. And what I want to mention here is that it has 4 ports on the device. I'll talk about what types of interfaces it supports. But the basic PacketExpert has 4 ports, and it's controlled by a Windows PC via a USB connection. This solution is very easy. It's very lightweight. You can hold it in your hand. You can connect it to a laptop for a very nice and easy portable solution that you can take out into the field. It's flexible, as you're going to see. It's portable. It covers many different types of tests. It supports automation and a graphical user interface, and it's cost effective. So that's what we're going to talk about here for the remainder of the webinar. Okay, flexible. I mentioned it's flexible. Well, what does that mean? First of all, notice that it has SFP cages. So we can support copper or optical interfaces. And for optical, we can support single mode or multi-mode with the appropriate SFP. We support basically every SFP on the market. We've never had an issue with SFPs. So no matter what type of SFP you're using, it'll work. And we can also supply the SFPs. If you want us to do that, we can supply the SFPs. We can supply cables as well. It's also got 2 RJ45 interfaces. So if you're dealing with Cat5 or Cat6 cabling, that'll work here. You can also stick electrical SFPs and use Cat5, Cat6, Cat7 cabling as well. So 2 of the ports here on the right-hand side can actually support 10 gig capability, copper or optical. It can actually support 2.5 gig as well. So these 2 ports here on the right can support 1 gig, 2.5 gig, and 10 gig Ethernet. The 2 ports on the left can go up to 1 gig. And also, when we quote the PacketExpert, you don't have to get the 10 gig capability right away. Sometimes customers ask for just the 1 gig capability, so that keeps the price down. And then at a later time, if you need to expand to 10 gig capability, it's just a simple software license. You already have the device, so we can just email you a software license that will unlock the 2.5 and 10 gig capability on the device. So it's very easy to upgrade once you have the hardware device. So yeah, it's very flexible. Okay, so so like I mentioned, we have both rack mount and portable solutions. So in the bottom right here, you connect the PacketExpert to a Windows laptop, Windows PC via a USB connection. We supply the USB cable, and you just invoke the software on the PC, and it's very easy to control the hardware. If you need a rack mount solution, we've got that covered as well. In fact, we can actually stick up to 3 PacketExperts in a 1U chassis, like you see here. And we can even go higher. We can stick up to 6 PacketExperts in a 2U chassis. So we can really scale this up. And so if you need lots of ports, we've had customers that have come to us and been like, we need to test a 24-port gigabit switch. Can you do that? Can you test all 24 ports simultaneously? And the answer is yes. We can put 6 of these PacketExperts, each with 4 ports, into a 2U chassis, and plug directly into all 24 ports and fire away. In the back of the chassis, we can even include the computer. Some customers ask us to supply the computer. So we can do that as a small single board computer. Notice that we have HDMI ports, so you can plug in a monitor, USB ports, so you can plug in a mouse and keyboard, and you can directly control that computer. And that computer is in turn controlling the PacketExpert hardware. So that's very nice, and now you have one self-contained solution. And finally, the computer itself has an Ethernet port, so you can use remote desktop protocol to log into that computer and control the PacketExpert. So whether you need portable or rack mount, we've got you covered. So just ask us, and it's very easy to quote you either option. Okay, so what type of testing capability? Well, a lot. We have a lot of different types of testing. If you just want basic bit error rate testing, we can do it. We can also do loopback testing. So the PacketExpert can be a loopback device. We support RFC 2544. This is good for testing individual devices. We can also record packets and play them back. So we could deploy the PacketExpert inline on a network and then play back all the traffic, record all the traffic, and then if you want, we can even play it back. We can do UDP traffic generation multi-stream, meaning we can actually generate several, I think up to 16 concurrent streams of traffic. So imagine you want to send traffic out to like 16 different IP addresses, or maybe you want to send traffic out with different payloads or different VLAN tags or different quality of service parameters and so forth. You can define different streams of traffic and send those streams out simultaneously. So that's very nice. We also do support TCP testing. A lot of customers ask about TCP. Yes, we do support TCP. We do it according to the RFC 6349 standard. So there's very popular standard and very methodical way to do TCP testing, and that's according to RFC 6349, which will give you TCP throughput, TCP efficiency, and so forth. We support WIDOUT 1564, which is for verifying service level agreements, committed information rate, and so forth. And finally, we can also actively generate impairments if you need that capability. So existing traffic streams, we can tap into those traffic streams, and then we can intentionally impair the traffic. We can introduce packet loss. We can hold the packets and introduce latency. We can delay the packets and so forth. So I'll briefly go through all of these different capabilities. Okay, so here's one simple example. Maybe you've got a large Ethernet network, and you may just want to deploy PacketExpert in 2 places on that Ethernet network. And maybe you don't need to go to IP or higher layers. Maybe you're just on a pure Ethernet network. So you could probably just send Ethernet frames from one PacketExpert through your switches and back to another PacketExpert. And that PacketExpert can loop the traffic back, meaning swap the source and destination MAC addresses and send it back to the source PacketExpert. And that PacketExpert can do bit error rate testing, throughput testing, out of sequence packets, can give you all the data in real time. It can generate a report from you, and so on and so forth. You can also do it simultaneously in both directions, so both sides could be running bit error rate tests and so forth. So if you're just on an Ethernet network, this will work just fine. Taking it up one layer, now if you want to go over an IP network and you have a router, now you can craft IP packets with source and destination IP addresses and send packets out onto the network, going through the switches and then the router and then back to the switch onto another local area network. And again, same thing, we can do bit error rate testing. We could do RFC 2544, get the packet loss, throughput, latency, and so forth. So this is also possible. So now we're scaling up. Sorry, hold on. So yeah, so we can actually go all the way up to UDP here. So you can imagine there could be multiple routers in the middle. And the two packet experts could be in completely different geographic locations. And they could be talking to one another. All you have to do is set the IP address for the ports and tell it where the gateway is, and then just start the test. And they'll be able to find each other on the IP network, and therefore you can characterize your IP network. We've had customers that deploy packet experts in data centers, and they want to know end-to-end performance between the two data centers. So this packet expert can do that for you. If you don't need to go over a network, maybe you're just testing an individual device, we can do that too with just one packet expert. So since the packet expert has multiple ports on it, you can use two of the ports, hook it up to your custom device, whether it's a switch or some sort of custom board or whatever it may be, and you can go from one port through the switch and back to the other port, and therefore you can measure the performance of the switch. Is it introducing bit errors? Is it losing packets? Is the bandwidth getting throttled, and so forth? So you can characterize individual devices with just one packet expert. Okay, here's an example. We've actually, sorry, there's a little bit of a mistake on this graphic, but what we're trying to show here is that if you have a multi-port switch, we can scale up our packet expert solution, what I mentioned before, and each packet expert has 4 1 gig ports on it. So you can hook up, and like I said, you can hook up to 6 packet experts in an individual system, and then therefore have 24 ports, and you can hook up those 24 ports all at once to like a 24 port switch. And you can do 1 gig testing with 24 bidirectional streams. If you need to go to 10 gig, we can support up to 12 streams at 10 gig rates, and so forth. So, we've had customers that need to test switches in certain environments for long periods of time. We've had customers that need to send switches out into space, out into outer space, and therefore they need to do some laboratory testing where they place a switch in a vacuum, and then they need to know, okay, is this switch performing properly over like a 1 week time period? So they will hook up their switch to our packet experts, and then just blast traffic at full line rate into their switch and see the performance of the switch. So we can do that. So like that, we can really scale up our solution nicely. This is a depiction of Y.1564 testing. So again, this is over a wide area network. The way you would do it here is the local packet expert is generating all the traffic, sending it out over the wide area network. Could be multiple different streams of traffic simultaneously. And then the packet experts at the remote end are looping it back. Looping it back meaning they are switching the source and destination MAC, source and destination IP address, and if you have like UDP, it's switching the source and destination UDP ports as well. And so it's sending it back over the network, and then this first packet expert on the left is receiving the traffic and can therefore do the measurements. Okay, how many packets did I send? How many am I receiving? What's my packet loss? What's the throughput? What's the round trip delay? I know exactly when I sent the packet and when I received the packet. So I can get the round trip delay with literally microsecond accuracy. We can get all of these different, we can get the jitter as well. So we can get all these different types of metrics by deploying the PacketExpert at both ends of the link. Okay, now some customers don't want the PacketExpert to generate traffic. Instead, what they want is maybe the PacketExpert to just sit in line on the network and maybe record traffic or act like an actual tap. So that's what we can do that as well with the PacketExpert. So here I've depicted it in our rack mount configuration, but if it's in the portable version, that works too. And basically, you sit it in line on the network, and it basically passes the traffic through, just like a tap. The advantage is that as it passes the traffic through the PacketExpert, it can also copy the traffic and send it out a monitor port. And therefore, just like a tap, you can tap into that traffic. You can plug in your own PC running our packet scan protocol analyzer or Wireshark or whatever tool you want, and you can receive all that traffic and analyze it. So all the traffic that is passing through the PacketExpert, you can copy it and you can analyze it. You can also customize what type of traffic you want copied. So if there's only certain types of traffic you want copied, you can do that. Like certain IP addresses or certain packet sizes, that's all doable. And we can even take it a step further. A lot of customers have asked for the ability to generate pulses. So this is something cool that I don't think any of our competitors can do. We can actually generate a certain pulse through these TTL triggers that we can include on the PacketExpert. So maybe if you're looking for a very specific packet, maybe 1 out of a million packets, like you just want to see a very specific packet, whenever that packet is flowing through the device, it can fire off a little TTL trigger. It's just a pulse, it's just like a voltage, and you can connect it to like an oscilloscope, and the oscilloscope can pick up that pulse, and you can see it visually on the oscilloscope. So customers sometimes want to visualize the presence of a specific packet, and they can do that with these TTLs. So that's a really cool option if you're doing some sort of precision timing measurement. We can include these TTL pulses. Okay, I mentioned that we can simulate impairments. So again, what we do here is we sit inline on the network, and as traffic passes through the device, we can selectively impair the traffic. We can say, okay, I want to simulate 1% packet loss, or I want to simulate 10 millisecond latency, or I want to reorder the packets, or I want to reduce the bandwidth from 1 gig down to 250 meg. I want to insert bit errors and things like that. And then they may be interested in understanding how that's going to affect their application. For example, like right now I'm talking to all of you, and but what if somebody in the middle introduces a packet loss or delays these packets by 100 milliseconds? How would that affect the audio stream? Would you still be able to hear me properly? Would you if you were talking back to me, how would the communication be affected? Would there be double talk? Would there be echo? Would there be all sorts of effects that really start to hinder the communication? So you can test that in a lab environment by introducing these impairments. You can impair all of the traffic through a module called IP link sim. You can impair all of the traffic, or through a module called IP net sim, you can selectively impair the traffic depending on what type of traffic that's passing through. So maybe only one type of traffic you want to impair, and then other types of traffic you want to let go unimpeded. So you can actually segregate the traffic and apply different types of impairments to the different types of traffic streams. We have a very comfortable graphical user interface. Unlike our competitors, a lot of our competitors just have touch screens and handheld devices. I don't like that because on a touch screen, first of all, the buttons, I mean, it's very small. It's very easy to fat finger something, and it's just very clunky. I like to have a nice, comfortable graphical user interface that you can invoke on a PC. You can use a mouse and keyboard and just type in all of the parameters. So, you know, if you want to type in the destination IP address, or you know the source, or you know type in what type of payload you want, it's just much easier to do that on a mouse and keyboard, and just point and click to get all the results. So that's really what distinguishes us from our competitors. We do things through the PC, through a comfortable graphical user interface. It's very easy when the test is done just to save the report to that PC and then open up the report as a PDF or Excel file. It's just really nice and convenient to do things this way. Okay, so we will conclude. I'll turn it over to my colleague Swati, who will talk about one of our really nice features that none of our competitors offer, I don't think, which is our APIs. So Swati, if you want to talk about our APIs, feel free.
Thanks, Vikram. In addition to graphical user interface, PacketExpert also provides access to all functionalities using APIs through various clients such as Python, C#, and LabView. For PacketExpert, a set of high-level APIs has been developed, which greatly reduces the time to develop sample application and to achieve automation. In C# or Python, the C# or Python interface is which is developed for PacketExpert. It allows to control all features using the high-level APIs. This has been implemented using it is a client-server model. As you see in the picture here, server is a map CLI server which interfaces PacketExpert hardware through USB. Client consists of, if it is C#, it consists of a C# DLL or Python files, which allows user to control the map CLI server, issue commands to the server, get the results using the using TCP/IP socket. And here user can control multiple hardware units from a single Python or a C# client. In the next slide, you can see our sample C# and Python scripts. So each in Python, it contains some. We also provide the sample application, which can be used directly, which will run a simple test and gives back the results. And we also expose many high-level APIs which can be used to which will allow the user to write his own scripts so that he can automate his tests easily. In this, here you can see on the left side is the C# sample application, and here it is the Python sample application. Another useful or more popular framework currently is the LabView framework. which offers complete lab management, and it is popular. Currently, it is very popular framework for test automation, and is used to integrate different vendors' equipment and to automate them. So PacketExpert, we also provide the LabView integration also. In LabView, by importing C# client API, we can create a simple LabView VIs which can be used to automate the test. LabView also provides the flexibility to create your own GUI. So we also provide this capability also. We also provide the sample applications in VI. Here also it will run basic tests and give back the results, and user can develop his own LabView VI projects.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Swati. Thank you for talking about that capability. I hope that I know we've covered a lot of ground in this webinar. I hope it gives you a flavor for all of the different capabilities of PacketExpert. So thank you all very, very much